everybody, it's Tim with Hilltop Enterprises Outdoors. So, hope you've been enjoying the episodes that we've had from hunting season. My archery season 2024 still had meat left in the freezer from that deer, so I didn't take one for the 2025 season. I did take some meat to a friend of mine, and I just picked it up. He made me some really nice venison Italian sausage. So at the end of this episode, I'm going to show you a dish that it's kind of famous around the Olean area. The Mara family made it famous, and my uncle was a chef with the Maras with their various restaurants. So this is a dish that everybody knows as pasta Louie. I call it pasta Steve just because that's my uncle's name and he taught me how to make it. So we're gonna teach you how to make that. It's a real quick, nice dish, tastes amazing, looks good. So we'll go over that at the end of the episode here. Did want to just get everybody's thoughts on a few things when it comes to the hunting seasons. Everybody always talks about passing on this deer, passing on that deer, waiting for this deer to get big or whatever. And this season really made me think about that. Waiting for the deer to get bigger. On the one property that I hunt, we had a piebald that was running around for the first time. I'll throw a picture of her up here for you. Beautiful piebald, and we had everybody on our side of the hill. Like, everybody was all hands off with that deer. Nobody is going to shoot it. So that deer was very safe on 250 acres. Thing that happened though is that deer crossed the road, and she crossed the creek, went onto another property, and another hunter shot her about a quarter mile away from where she was safe. So, not that we have any ill feelings towards that hunter. I mean, he shot the deer. I've heard that he's going to do a full body mount with it. So, congratulations to him. But when you have that little 6 point, little 8 point that you're thinking it needs another year, what happens when that deer goes across the road onto somebody else's property and it gets shot over there because that person says, hey, that's a nice deer for me and I'm taking it. So, and then too, like where do you draw the line with waiting for the deer to get bigger? Because as I said in my opening day video with the 6 point that I saw, beautiful deer. Next year he'll be great. The year after he'll be great. But when do you draw the line with it? And when do you decide that I don't want to risk him going off of the property? I want to take him now. I'm not upset that I passed on the 6 point that I saw, but I can tell you if he went past almost anybody else that was hunting on that property, they would have dropped him in a heartbeat. So, just little things like that I really had the opportunity to think about during the season. I wanted to get everybody's thoughts. Next year, this year, I guess, this coming season, I'm hoping to, if I plan it out just right, maybe I'll take a doe during early archery season just to get the meat and then trophy hunt for a buck. But it just depends on what the counts are up at camp and on on the other property. So, you know, I guess we'll figure it out. So something else I wanted to touch on with this episode is the effect of social media and television on hunting. I think with social media and everything, we've gotten used to seeing really big bucks and, you know, and people behind the keyboards. They always want to say things on the keyboard that they wouldn't say face to face. But I miss the days of hunting, you know, 20 years ago, when someone would shoot a 4-point or a 6-point or even a spike, and everybody was happy for that person. And now it's everybody's, oh, you should have waited on that one. You shouldn't have taken that. That, you know, next year that would have been great. And, you know, I don't understand why everybody feels the need to be negative towards another hunter for filling the tag that he bought with the rifle that he bought or the bow that he bought, and you know, on property that he does something to be able to hunt, whether he owns it or he maintains it or he leases it. So I will never understand why people feel the need to just degrade another hunter for doing something that he was happy with. You know, even if it's a neighbor of yours and he shoots the deer that you'd been passing on, you know, who cares? You were the one that made the decision to pass on it. It showed up in front of him. He took it. More power to him. Be happy for him. You know, this world that we're living in is just negativity everywhere. And when you start just bashing a fellow hunter for the deer that he took or the weapon that he took it with, you know, I know there's a big controversy going on with you know, the crossbows and you know, the traditional archery hunters. I mean, these people that say that they're traditional archery hunters, they're out there with a compound bow that's shooting, you know, what, 400 feet per second, or maybe not 400, but, you know, 300, and that's not traditional. There's nothing traditional about your compound bow. So, you know, before you want to sit there and try to, you know, just go off on somebody because they're using a crossbow, think about your weapon. It's not a traditional bow. So until you're out there every day with a recurve or a long bow, I really don't think you have much room to talk. And I know that's going to make some people mad, but oh well. You know, I don't care if somebody is out. You know, I do a lot of hunting with a crossbow, do a lot of hunting with the compound. Thanks to the fine folks at Belmont Archery, I have new strings for a couple of recurves. You know, start figuring out what I want for arrows for them and everything. And maybe I'll do a recurve hunt. But it's my choice, and if I decide that I want to hunt with the recurve or with the crossbow, I bought my tag. And if I fill that tag with whatever weapon, I'm going to be happy. You know, and then we also get these people who shot with. It doesn't know what caliber it was. It doesn't know whether it was a crossbow or a compound. So I guess the point with that is just be happy for people. At the end of the day, they're putting meat in their freezer, they're feeding themselves and their families, and it's just a sick world we live in, I guess, when we can't just be happy for other hunters. One more thing we'll talk about before I go and fire up the Blackstone. It's not really a bad thing. It's just one of those thoughts that hit my head during season. We always talk about going and hunting meat because hunting deer because the meat is free. It's not free. Especially when you sit there and you start thinking about, okay, I paid for my fishing and hunting license. Let's just say it's $100 for the year. Then you have to buy your boots. Those are going to be anywhere from $100 to $300, depending on what kind of boots you want to get. But let's just say $150 there. You got to go and get your hunting clothes, your camo, your orange, everything. Let's just say you go to Walmart and get some cheap stuff, and you got $100 wrapped up in that. A rifle, if you're hunting for only rifle season, you've got say $400 wrapped up in a Savage. You're getting ammo that's $40 a box, let's just say, for the sake of ease. That's $2 a round. And now you go out, you have all your stuff there, and then you go out and you shoot a deer. Now you can process it yourself, but you have to buy all the different things that you're going to be using for processing, or you have to pay somebody, and you're paying $125 to process that deer. So I'm gonna put all these totals up here, and let's just say, like with my deer from last year, or 2 seasons ago, we put that box on the scale, we had 52 pounds of meat. So I'll just use that as a figure, and we'll figure out exactly how much it's going to cost a pound. So whatever shows up right here, that's what your venison cost a pound. And that's granted if you're using the same hunting clothes, the same rifle, that box of ammo lasts you a few seasons, and you get a few deer with that, then your cost per pound goes down. But just that initial deer, you're far from getting it for free. And it's something I'm guilty of saying myself, but when I was out sitting in the woods this season thinking about things, and so yeah, it's far from free. But even if your 50 pounds of meat came from you had everything else, and you had $100 into your license, I mean, that's still $2 a pound just for license. Of course, that $100, that's also including turkey and archery and muzzleloader. So, but still, you're buying your hunting license, getting all those tags, and if you get one deer in the year, still $2 a pound. A lot more than that if it's your first time hunting with that one particular rifle and your brand new hunting clothes and everything. So yeah, it's not free, but we still enjoy it and we still love it, and that's why we do it. So I'm gonna go and get the Blackstone fired up, and we'll be cooking Olean's favorite dish.